Good evening, everybody. Round two, round three. The first show this morning was another miss button thing I messed up on, so I deleted that one this morning. Lucy, so is it good news? Is he back home? So they find out was it a minor issue? Oh, I don't know what that. There you go. Yeah. So Paula, earlier, if you're listening, I'm sorry I didn't see the letter A behind the L there. I thought it was Paul. I was calling you, but I apologize for saying your name wrong. I always mess up on some of the names. Are you done with the window? Are you cold now? Huh? You cold? Are you cold? Come on. Come on. Get up here. Get up here. Come on. You gonna say hi to everybody? Huh? I'm gonna start here in a minute. No more. No, we're done. So we got another 10-minute Billy out too. Carol's at church tonight. Well, get up here. Come on. I gotta put the window back again. It's cold. What? Get away. Come on. All right. Now say hi to everybody. There's Chico. Hey, who was that? Huh? He's looking out the window. They're saying hi to you. You gonna say hi back? Huh? Say hi? Huh? Huh? I guess he wants to wrestle. I go, yeah. Hey. Ooh. All right, say bye, everybody. Okay. So we'll do a photo shot, another photo, and then short clips from the Iran minister. What's your problem? Get up there. Get up there. Oh, here they go again on the cemetery photo shots. Get up there. What? Oh, right now. Hey. What are you doing? Okay, what we got? Okay, Lucy, I got one left of the one lady here. Pinocchio, no, yes.
This week, I'm on here making fun of a certain group of people. Well, because the situation is so insane and so goofy, I felt like it was appropriate to wear my goofy wig. We have got to have some common sense, okay? It is lacking, and I don't know what the hell is going on because it is not just on the other side. There is a man on here who's already racked up over 46,000 likes by putting a fake fucking picture of a human doll and saying that it was in the Epstein files that people over on Epstein Island was taking women and removing their skeleton from their body. Think about that for a minute. And turning them into living dolls for people to do whatever they wanted to, and then they were removing their tongue. Guys, 46,000 likes, and you should read the comments. Oh my God, this is horrible. When will these people when will justice get to them? This is awful. How do you remove your skeleton of your body? Now, somebody might skin your ass. Somebody might just take you apart. You can't remove your skeleton system. It is part of your fucking body. You can't do it. It's not possible, and keep you alive. Come on, guys. 46,000 people, it's probably double that now, think that this is true. Y'all also got all these people here making this shit up about they were serving babies and they were eating the poop. One man told the FBI that he witnessed this out of thousands and thousands of testimonies. The guy was so uncredible that they deemed him loony. That's all these people are latching on to, and they got their little sad music in the background, their little thinking look going, now that we found out where all these children are coming up, oh, Pizzagate, all this stuff. Guys, yes, SA goes on. Human trafficking goes on. It's absolutely horrific. And cannibalism does happen. This wasn't happening at Epstein Island. And in fact, most of the victims were 18 years old and above. Okay? Stop. Use your common sense. Okay? And by the way, now that Bill Clinton has said the opposite of what Hillary Clinton has said, I have a little bit more respect for him. He went with Monica Lewinsky. I don't think Bill Clinton went with no damn little bitty children. I don't know. I don't like them. I'm not for them. I can't see it. Okay? Can we please calm down with this shit, please? Okay, guys.
Okay, that was the last one for today with her. 2 more photos, you guys, I got. So let's see how many Americans would agree with this. Deport Ilhan Omar and whatever the names are. Oh, dang it. Okay, I got one more. Ah. Oh, well, I can't play it. We got this one here. Let's play the deck clock lady. She came out tonight. Why are they not letting me play this? I'm already signed in. Oh. See if this will work. I can't play the death clock lady, darn it. Oh, shoot. Oh, wait. Okay, I got it.
Since we just had the Ring of Fire solar eclipse a few days ago, now we have a blood moon lunar eclipse coming up on March 3rd, 3/3, you guys, and it peaks at 3:33. And this blood moon lunar eclipse, you guys, is happening on Purim, okay? We have been talking about how all of these events align with biblical prophecy. Now I want to start going over Disclosure Day, okay? Because Trump has been talking about releasing the, I guess, UFO files or whatever. He's releasing those on March 6th. They're calling it Disclosure Day. That's 3 days after we have the blood moon lunar eclipse on March 3rd, 3-3. And not to mention today, February 28th, we have this alignment, which is when Israel started attacking Iran. There's more about the blood moon lunar eclipse that peaks at 3:33 on 3-3. And here's more about the timing of the U.S. and Israeli attack on Iran bears symbolic meaning in Judaism, okay? And this is all talking about Purim. So ahead of the upcoming Jewish holiday of Purim, worshipers read the specific portion from the Old Testament known as Zechor, and that it represents Gog and Magog, okay? How odd is it that we have all of this volcanic activity, explosive activity in the Ring of Fire just days before the blood moon? Now, everyone is talking about how the Ring of Fire represents crowning, which represents birthing the new earth. Isn't it interesting that the headlines that we've been seeing lately are talking about Jesus's crucifixion being linked to the lunar eclipse? We've been seeing other news articles talking about scientists confirming that there was a biblical earthquake that shook the earth during Christ's crucifixion. We have all of this stuff going on, you guys. We have all of these news headlines. We've got Israel attacking Iran and all of these other countries kind of joining in or supporting. We have Trump talking about releasing the UFO or the UAP files. I've heard March 6th. I'm not sure if that is the actual day that it's going to be released, but I've heard other people talking about March 6th being called Disclosure Day. Now, that is interesting to me because of what Chris Bledsoe has been talking about. The star of Regulus aligning with the gaze of the Sphinx is when a new knowledge is going to happen or occur. Apparently, that's going to happen sometime around Easter 2026. There's something else very interesting that he talks about: exchange of missiles with Iran and Israel. Just listen.
One thing she told me was, when you see Iran and Israel exchanging missiles, and I saw it, the way she tells me is a vision of, I see it like a living picture screen. I could see the rockets flying. Then all of a sudden, orbs appeared out of the ocean and everywhere. And I told the government, if this happens, the orbs are going to appear and wake people up and stop it. That's what she told me.
I already know what a lot of you are going to say. It's a fake alien invasion and blah, 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 blah. There's one thing interesting that he mentions that aligns with Project Looking Glass. There's two different timelines, you guys, and they're merging into one timeline, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. Nothing that they can do to stop it. Just listen.
We had two timelines. We had a choice. They said that there were people in power scripting the book of Revelations to bring about the end of the world. They want to do this.
I think it's a shadow government, and that's why they're building bunkers and all of that, is because they're trying to engineer the end of the world.
Yeah, that's what the beings told me. That they were trying to bring about the end of the world. And if we go that route, it would end up in Armageddon. And like the Bible says, Jesus comes back and saves the world, right? The other timeline they said was that the reset button didn't have to happen if we made the choice to seek the light and remove the darkness, and that they were going to help. And that's by waking us up.
And does that lead us into the 2026 event?
2026 into a time of awakening, peace, not war.
What was the prediction that the lady made?
She said, when the red star of Regulus aligns in the gaze of the Sphinx, and she showed it to me, it looked like a little red ball. Now, Regulus is blue.
It's blue.
But she said it would appear red on the horizon just before dawn. When that happens, at that point, it would mark a shift into a new knowledge and awakening of the people. I think it's just the beginning of a new era, a new knowledge, and maybe that's the revealing of this, the truth of consciousness.
And this will be the Sphinx gazing at Regulus.
Yeah.
Do you know what constellation Regulus is in?
It's in Leo.
It's in Leo.
Isn't that crazy? Why does the Space Force have on their badge a triangle,
right,
with the Sphinx looking up at the star?
Guys, and this is why the U.S. Declock and Ingersoll Lockwood, you guys, they are affiliated with Space Force. Both websites advertise Space Force. They have us on their timeline, the Enoch timeline, okay? And the other one is trying to force the book of Revelation or Armageddon and all that kind of stuff. So we've got two timelines kind of intermingling within each other, which have Christians confused because they're so set on what the Bible says. You guys, they have the technology that controls space and time. It's right there on the White House website, you guys. The U.S. has technology to manipulate time and space. And these Christians that are dogging Trump are just so set on biblical prophecy, they cannot see outside of the box. Anyway, you guys, there's a lot of stuff going on, and excuse me, I have been sick the last few days, and I'm so sorry that I've taken this long to make another video. I have been so busy. I've been taking courses, studying for AI exams, also taking courses on data analytics. So there's just so much that I'm doing. I'm still following everything that's going on. I'm going to update you guys as much as I can when I can. Whatever happens these next few months, you guys, don't be afraid. Don't be fearful. Help spread the word. Christ is with us. Everything will be okay. Hey guys, we got a
Okay, that's the latest one there. She must have been sick. Okay, I believe the next one is 11 minutes.
That there are a group of men that enjoy the company of young
You guys want to hear this one?
and children. And I think that letter emphasizes that he knew what was going on. And that complicity is enough for me to know you have no business being in the position of power.
But as other documents indicated, it's not just that Donald Trump knew about Epstein's interest in young women. The documents indicate Trump himself enjoyed the young women. And according to at least one person the FBI interviewed, Donald Trump raped a woman. Trump has denied any wrongdoing in the Epstein case, but Trump has also denied traveling on Epstein's plane more than once or twice. Headline, many more Epstein flights. An early 2020 email in the documents claimed Trump traveled on Epstein's private plane many more times than previously has been reported. Those flights include 8 that happened between 1990.
I guess we better not play that. CNN.
Second. No.
We're very pro-life.
So you kind of step right in front of us, man.
Hi. Representative Bogart, can you talk to us about why you sent that picture? I just returned to my hotel room and installed the BleachFit software and took a camera to my iPad. So I guess in regards to the photos, I do not recall. You don't remember sending the picture of Clinton?
Who's the kid? Are you going to see a Broadway show while you're here?
Okay.
No, because
Well, actually, this is a rerun. That's all they showed on that one. Sorry, guys. All right, this one, finally go. I can't remember if I played this one or not.
Nothing operates without energy, not just electricity,
If we
not just currency, not just institutions, not even the stories we tell ourselves. Energy is transferred, directed, sustained. It powers hospitals and holds prisons closed. It powers markets and keeps trust intact. And wherever energy flows long enough, structure forms. Structures that outlast a single life, structures that shape opportunity and limit it. The question is not whether systems exist. The question is, who fuels them? Who decides the channels of flow? Who benefits when it persists? Life itself is structured energy. Your heartbeat is electrical. Your thoughts are chemical signals. Your movement converts stored fuel into action. Energy follows law. It does not govern itself. Every living organism operates within limits: time, attention, resources, and capacity. Constraint is real, but so is creativity. Human progress did not erase limitation, it reorganized it.
That's a good
Agriculture
one.
multiplied food from limited soil. Industry multiplied output from limited labor. Digital systems multiplied reach from limited attention. Each epoch found ways to redirect energy more efficiently, to convert scarcity into new forms of possibility. Scarcity at the material level, expansion at the creative level, both are true, coexisting. Our tools change the shape of limits, but not the fact of them. Modern economics begins with scarcity, limited resources, unlimited demand. At the physical layer, that is accurate.
Yeah, I think
Time is finite, land is finite, human effort has boundaries. But scarcity is often engineered through supply bottlenecks, constrained logistics, exclusive rights like patents, and concentrated control of distribution. When a channel is closed or taxed, when incentives favor hoarding over sharing, shortage feels natural. When price signals are distorted, misallocation follows. The distinction between real constraint and manufactured limitation determines the shape of a society: who prospers, who is excluded, who adapts. Let's pause. Scarcity explains competition. Artificial scarcity explains frustration and resentment. Understanding the difference is a first step to change. Every institution survives on distributed energy: attention, labor, belief, capital, compliance. Each of these fuels different forms of power. Attention builds reputation and visibility. Labor produces output and sustains services. Belief legitimizes authority. Capital builds infrastructure. Compliance keeps systems running. Remove enough of any few type, and the structure weakens, shutters, or shifts. This applies to markets, to governments, to corporations, to ideologies, even to systems people claim to oppose. Participation is fuel, silence is fuel, outrage is fuel, indifference is fuel. Energy is rarely neutral. Often it chooses winners by omission as much as by action. No individual controls the entire structure, but every individual directs their flow. Where attention goes, momentum grows. Where capital moves, infrastructure forms. Where belief stabilizes, institutions endure. Small acts compound. A creator choosing their audience shapes culture. A buyer choosing a product shapes supply chains. A teacher choosing what to pass on shapes competence. Turning off a device is a vote of attention. Shifting investment is a vote of consequence. You may not choose the terrain, but you always choose your alignment. Choice by default is still choice. Choice with intention reshapes trajectory. When many choose with intention, collective direction changes the system itself. Some systems centralize power: gray corridors, concentrated decision making, dependency lines that funnel resources upward. Some systems distribute responsibility: open land, local markets, small teams, decentralized networks that multiply agency. Both require energy. One concentrates control and reduces redundancy. One multiplies stewardship and builds resilience. Neither survives without fuel. Centralized systems can be efficient but brittle. Distributed systems can be robust but require coordination. The future is not decided in speeches or slogans. It is decided in daily allocation, where people place their attention, labor, capital, and trust. Small patterns of fueling compound into landscapes of possibility. Where your energy flows long enough, structure follows. Let's elevate our view. Let's agree lights, systems, and our world runs on energy.
Not over.
Energy becomes structure, and structure shapes reality, what's possible, probable, permitted. This is not a moral accusation. It is a practical observation. We cannot avoid fueling something because energy can never be destroyed. It can only transferred. We can, however, choose with intention, choose where our attention goes, choose where our labor goes, choose where our capital goes, choose where our faith resides. These are acts of sovereignty in ordinary time. Let's choose carefully what we power.
Okay, that was kind of interesting, I think. I got another interesting one that's 9 minutes, you guys. KJ, I sent you something there. It's an hour video.
How many views does it have versus how many likes does it have? If it has a lot of likes and not a lot of views, report TikTok to your regulator, please. Everything that I'm about to say in this video comes from primary sources from the SEC, the 9/11 Commission, and academic research from 3 separate universities. You can get the full essay on my Substack, allymacforever.substack.com. There are no shortage of conspiracy theories around 9/11. Was it Bush? Was it the CIA? Maybe. What I'm about to share with you is what hard empirical evidence can confirm. For a lot of Americans, especially of my generation and older, 9/11 is one of the deepest wounds in American history. Thousands of ordinary New Yorkers and brave firefighters and medics were unfortunately killed on this day. But the day also became the catalyst for America's war on terror, which then took the lives of 1 million Iraqis. I want to park the emotion there for a minute. It has been over 20 years since this event, and we need to look clinically and coldly at the money. We need to look at Wall Street and what was happening on the trading floor just days before those planes hit. I need to first explain to those who don't know what a put option is. If you know, you can skip about a minute from here. A put option is basically a type of bet. So stock is a tiny slice of ownership in a company. If you own stock in American Airlines and American Airlines has a good year, the value of your stock goes up. So you can sell it for more than you paid. A put option is the opposite bet. It gives you the right to sell your stock at a fixed price by a certain date, even if the price has crashed. Let's say American Airlines shares are trading at 50 cents each. You buy a put option that says I can sell these shares at 50 cents anytime in the next month. That put option costs you 2 cents. If nothing happens to American Airlines share value within that month, you lose your 2 cents. Nothing happens. But if in that month something terrible happens to American Airlines and their share value drops to 20 cents, your put option is now worth 30 cents. You bought the right to sell your stock at 50 cents, and that stock is now worth 20 cents. So that 30 cents is your profit. Now imagine you knew something terrible was going to happen to American Airlines. You would load up on put options. You would buy as many as you could, as cheap as you could. And when the price crashed, you would collect. That is exactly what happened in early September 2001. In the 5 days before the attacks, something unusual showed up on the options market. On the 6th of September 2001, put volume for UAL, which is United Airlines' parent company, skyrocketed to over. Then on the 10th, put volume for AMR, which is the parent company for American Airlines, skyrocketed to over 4,000. Usual daily put volume for these companies is seen here, 27 per day. This is calculated at 285 times the normal trading volume. But it wasn't just planes. I've only captured Morgan Stanley here, but a number of World Trade Center tenants also had skyrocketed put options in the day before 9/11. Morgan Stanley seen 80 times the daily average of put trade in the 4 days before 9/11. Merrill Lynch, also located near the towers, seen 12,215 puts in the 4 days before 9/11. No other airline seen similar spikes, and there are 3 separate peer-reviewed studies that confirm these patterns are statistically abnormal. Alan Peteshman at the University of Illinois, publishing in the Journal of Business, found that put options were in the 99th percentile in the days before 9/11. In plain terms, if you lined up every single day of options trading in American history, the days before 9/11 were more extreme than 99 out of 100. His conclusion, and I quote, was, "The data is consistent with informed investors having traded options in advance of the attacks." At the University of Zurich, Mark Chesney, Remo Cremiri, and Loreno Mancini also found at least 13 instances of abnormal trading consistent with insider trading. And their method controlled for hedging, meaning they ruled out the possibility that these trades were just banks doing normal risk activity. Separately, Wing Kung Yang, Howard E. Thompson, and Ki Hong Tae examined the S&P 500 and they measure how frightened the market is. They also found abnormal spikes just before the attacks that could not be explained. This is 3 separate studies, 3 separate universities, 3 separate continents finding the same thing. Someone traded on advance notice. But where this gets interesting is where those trades went. The largest single cluster of put options went through one brokerage, Alex Brown. That name matters a lot because of who built this company. Alvin Bernard Buzzy Krongrad was born in 1936. He served in the US Marines and then studied law at the University of Maryland before joining Alex Brown in the 1970s. By 1991, he was the CEO, and by 1994, he was the chairman, the firm's most powerful figure. This was at a time when Alex Brown was bringing to market for the first time Oracle, Microsoft, AOL, Starbucks, Dell, Yahoo, PeopleSoft, 3Com, and Checkpoint Software. During the exact same period, Buzzy Krongard was also a consultant to the directors of the CIA. In the late 90s, Buzzy leaves Alex Brown and goes full-time with the CIA. And 6 months before 9/11, he is promoted to executive director of the Central Intelligence Agency. So the man who built the brokerage that the biggest cluster of pre-9/11 put options went through was, on the day of the attacks, running the daily operations for the CIA. The Securities and Exchange Commission started to review trades on the 12th of September, but they concluded they had found no evidence that anyone who traded had advanced knowledge of the attacks. They traced 95% of the United Airlines put options to this single institutional investor. They even interviewed the CEO and the trader. The firm said this was just a bearish bet on the whole airline sector, even though it was only done against American Airlines and United. And the SEC accepted that. They then redacted the name of the investor and classified the entire report. They then spent a decade fighting Freedom of Information requests. When the National Security Archive at George Washington University finally forced this release in 2010, the name was still redacted. Separately, the SEC's own Office of Inspector General documented that the SEC had destroyed pre-investigation files called Matters Under Inquiry. This violated federal record-keeping rules. This SEC investigation was flawed in its design because it centered around one single question. They were trying to establish, did Al-Qaeda or its associates profit from these trades? When the answer to that narrow question was no, they stopped looking. They never asked if it was a US hedge fund. Meanwhile, Krongard's successor at Alex Brown, Mayo A. Shattuck III, weirdly resigned the day after 9/11. Explanation ever given as to why. He just moved into a new job in the energy sector. I'm running out of time, but if you go to part 2, I'm going to talk about Krongard and his brother and how they introduced Blackwater to the CIA.
Okay, that was a new lady there I found on Telegram, I think that was. I found those 2 clips from the moon again.
It's thanks to a total lunar eclipse. Nearly all of North and South America will see the eclipse. The eclipse starts at 4:50 a.m. Eastern Time. That's 1:50 a.m. Pacific Time. That's when the edge of the Earth's shadow will begin sweeping across the moon. But totality doesn't start until 6:04 a.m. Eastern Time. That's when the moon will fully turn red. It lasts 58 minutes. On the East Coast, totality is ongoing at the time of sunrise Tuesday morning as the moon also sets in the west. We call this a rare selenelian. During a lunar eclipse, the Earth passes between the sun and the moon. That blocks most, emphasis on most, of the sunlight from reaching the moon. The only light that gets through is what skims along the edge of Earth, passing through our atmosphere at an angle. All of the other colors of light get scattered away, leaving behind only red and orange. That turns the moon a rusty brown or eerie blood red. Technically, you're seeing all the combined light from all of Earth's sunrises and sunsets projected onto the moon simultaneously. It's absolutely beautiful. So very late Monday night into early Tuesday morning, be sure to look to the sky. For 1 hour Tuesday morning, the moon will...
Okay, I got one more.
I ride a nice staff. They come for me. The ride isn't gentle. It's protection with force. It beats back what comes after you. Sets you back on course. The staff pulls you back when you wander near the edge. Catches you before you fall off your own ledge.
I can't. I want to see if I can. I don't know if you guys can see that. I can't. This one is a hard one to see. Sorry about that one, you guys.
February 28, 2026. Time in Texas about 5 p.m.
10 minutes.
An update on what's going on in the U.S., Iran, and the Middle East, and Israel. So we have this late this afternoon. The FBI and Homeland Security have issued inside the U.S. a nationwide alert. It's reasonably believed that we have inside the U.S. Jihadi terrorists who would like nothing better than to hit the American people. So that's going on. Just keep your powder dry, baby, and be alert. So we do have that FBI Homeland Security alert taking place. And we have this. The Ayatollah, as I put out earlier, had been confirmed to be eliminated. And now we have multiple reports that Israel has indeed eyes on and have located the Ayatollah's body. we continue to hear about celebrations in the streets of Iran saying, "Thank you, President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu." We have reports coming from Mar-a-Lago that President Trump also is dancing to the song, "God Bless America." We're also hearing about multiple Middle East nations making complaints against Iran today in a special meeting of the UN. Iran is hitting its neighbors, not military targets, but civilian neighborhoods and airports. We hear late this afternoon at 5 o'clock Texas time that Iran has made multiple hits and continues to strike both Israel and Dubai, especially their civilian residential buildings and airports. We're hearing Iran has also hit civilian infrastructure in the UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait, Jordan, Iraq, Saudi Arabia. So that's going on. And we have this. Yes, thank you to President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu. The dead body of Ayatollah has been located by Israel. We have a woman making a video in Kernan, Iran, saying, "Even if I die, I hope my country will see better days." And as I have put out in previous videos, I believed that the Iranian people had decided in their hearts to become martyrs and to go forth as America did in its early days. Give me liberty or give me death. And we've seen, it's believed, up to 60 to 80,000 Iranian people being slaughtered in the streets of Iran by the Ayatollah and the IRGC. Now we're hearing that many of them are dead, including the Ayatollah, many leaders of the Iranian government, many IRGC leaders. And we have this. Heavy firefight is taking place inside Iran at the location of Evans Prison, where political Iranian people are being held prisoner by the Ayatollah's government. Iran continues to hit civilian locations of its neighbors. It is being reported Iran did not hit Turkey. Iran hit civilian infrastructure in North Iraq, specifically the Kurds population. The U.S. military has released a video regarding the U.S. military hits inside Iran, where the U.S. military beginning hits took out Iran's air defense system. We're hearing in Qatar has been hit by Iran, 65 missiles and 12 drones. We have President Trump issuing a global alert for all American citizens in all nations. Be on alert and keep your powder dry, baby. We have Germany cooperating with the U.S. and Israel. And with Germany making a statement, the Iranian people have the right to govern their nations. We are not hearing of any casualties yet being reported on the sides by the U.S. or Israel. Qatar continues to be hit by Iran. Kuwait infrastructure has been hit by Iran IRGC. We have Doha, Qatar being hit again. And we have Iran hitting civilian buildings and airports in Tel Aviv. We have no casualties report yet from Israel. And we have
3 minutes
that Israel has hit inside Iran the location of Iran's ballistic missiles. Some of them, we know they have hundreds, if not thousands. And we have that Dubai airport has been hit again and again. And we're hearing that 40 plus of the IRGC leaders have been taken out. We do have now a report from Tel Aviv that 6 Israel people have been slightly injured by the Iranian hits on Israel. We have this. Inside Iran, the U.S. and Israel have also taken down the leader of Iran's military, defense, and intel. We are now hearing about some type of fire and explosion, either on a ship or a tanker in the Persian Gulf. We do not yet have details. No official statement is being made by Iran regarding a strike in the Persian Gulf. We are hearing that Iran rogue individuals in the Iranian military continue to make hits on Israel and regional Middle East nations on civilian targets. We have this. Iran also has continued steady hits on both Tel Aviv and Dubai. We have from BP Earthwatch. Yes, Israel has confirmed they have located the body of the Ayatollah. And now it's coming out. It appears the Strait of Hormuz has been shut down by Iran. And we know the Strait of Hormuz, through which much of the world's oil flows, will likely result in an increase of the price of oil per barrel. And we have this. Yes, today the FBI and Homeland Security issue a U.S. national alert in the event that there are jihadi terrorists inside the U.S. who may want to do some type of hit on the U.S. It's good to be in prayer for America, President Trump, the U.S. military, and world peace. I love you, and I'll see you soon.
Okay, we got 3 of them out today. Those are better short ones than her long videos. She should stay up to 10 minutes and the 20-minute ones. Okay, the next 4 are short ones, and I got a 20-minute Aaron video talking about Trump. She has a guy on there about Trump's next move will be. So that's a good one to play.
The hill that they were dying on was Affordable Care Act, and it was all anyone could talk about, and everyone was fear-mongered into believing that they were going to lose all of their benefits and things were going to skyrocket. And then when you actually looked at the data, I don't know if you guys followed me during that time, but it showed like less than 1% of the actual population was impacted by what they were talking about with the premiums. And then they stopped talking about it. It came and went. January 1st came, everyone's premiums went up. But in this last CR and budget debate, not a word about Affordable Care Act. It was ICE. Don't you think that's weird? They literally wouldn't shut up about it. And now they haven't said a word about it. Did I miss something? 2, the SAVE Act. Someone please tell me why this just isn't common sense and a law. I have to show an ID to buy 2 Sudafed or Sudafed in general, to use my credit card, but not to go vote. Are you fucking serious? 86% of Americans support the SAVE Act. Say, yeah, you need to show your ID to vote. 86%. I think it's one of the only things that we agree on in America right now is that, yeah, showing an ID to vote is good. So tell me why the Democrats are like, no, we have a problem with this. Could it be because they let millions of illegals over the border in order to boost their numbers and allowed them to commit fraud and take our tax dollars? And so now they're like, wait, I was kind of banking on those votes. I can't win the election on my own. It's giving loser. Because you can't tell me that Americans want it, but the people that represent you, us, don't. Make it make sense. If you are not for the SAVE Act, I really would like to hear why. And please, someone tell me why you think the Democrats do not want this. I have to know. Stay tuned. Remember when the Democrats shut the government?
Okay, that's the new lady on TikTok. Our ladies from TikTok here.
Into a world of sovereign, prosperous nations. That's why when Bill O'Reilly asked him about bombing Iran, Trump was most concerned about the impact on Russia and China. That's why he walked out of the G7 on Monday saying, your system causes wars. He knows that full-time urgent production and reindustrialization is the only way out of the debt crisis our nation and the world is facing. That type of production requires peace. A war now will sink it. Let's hear Trump in his own words speaking in Saudi Arabia.
Before our eyes, a new generation of leaders is transcending the ancient conflicts of tired divisions of the past and forging a future where the Middle East is defined by commerce, not chaos, where it exports technology, not terrorism, and where people of different nations, religions, and creeds are building cities together, not bombing each other out of existence. We don't want that. And it's crucial for the wider world to note this great transformation has not come from Western interventionists or flying people in beautiful planes giving you lectures on how to live and how to govern your own affairs. No, the gleaming marvels of Riyadh and Abu Dhabi were not created by the so-called nation builders, neocons, or liberal nonprofits like those who spent trillions and trillions of dollars failing to develop Kabul, Baghdad, so many other cities. Instead, the birth of a modern Middle East has been brought by the people of the region themselves, the people that are right here, the people that have lived here all their lives, developing your own sovereign countries, pursuing your own unique visions and charting your own destinies in your own way.
He made it clear Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, but he invited them to join a Middle East renaissance. His identity is about building, not bombing. Iran wants to transform a dominant.
Okay, the first one there on them.
Violation of their obligations. And then Vance stresses, and of course, people are right to be worried about foreign entanglement after the last 25 years of idiotic foreign policy. but I believe the president has earned some trust on the issue. And having seen this up close and personal, I can assure you that he is only interested in using the U.S. military to accomplish the American people's goals. Whatever he does, that is his focus. And that's the difference between Trump and the neocons. The neocons and their British imperial controllers want endless war and perpetual regime change. Look at Iran and Israel, both hotbeds of British intelligence operations stretching back throughout the post-war period. In her Monday brief, Barbara discussed how the British, with plenty of help from the CIA, overthrew the Mossadegh government in Iran in the 1950s, put the Shah in, and then overthrew him when it suited their purposes, which led to the installation of the Islamic regime. Trump is committed to ending that, but you have to recognize that he and his relatively small team are dealing with a culture of war and regime change, which is deeply embedded in the intelligence and military institutions. But they're also doing something even more fundamental. Trump is threatening to replace the post-war liberal economic order with the most dramatic return to the American system in generations. While Trump was dealing with the global crisis, back home, his policies delivered something incredible. Blue-collar workers saw real wage growth of almost 2% in just his first 5 months, the largest increase for any administration in nearly 60 years. Treasury Secretary Bessent pointed out that the nearly 2% rise was unprecedented, and it was a result of the emphasis on manufacturing and commitment to remove illegal immigrants from the workforce. When ICE raided a meatpacking plant in Omaha, dozens of Americans showed up the next day to fill out job applications. That's how you restore the dignity of work. And the British Empire has spent centuries convincing Americans that prosperity requires imperial wars and cheap foreign labor. Trump is proving them wrong. But while Trump fights the global empire abroad, he does face sabotage at home. Right now, the same neocon Rhino Collective in the Senate that's opposed peaceful settlements in Ukraine and Iran is trying to gut Trump's economic revolution. Trump's one big, beautiful bill represents the starting point of his economic revolution. But Senate Republicans infected with what I call the...
Okay, got two of them though. Couple more with her.
With what's happening today. Today, on February the 17th, there's going to be an annual solar eclipse. Over the next 3 years, Earth is going to experience 6 solar eclipses. It's going to be a mix of ring of fire eclipses, annual eclipses, and dramatic total eclipses.
Oh, this is an old one.
2026 to 2028. And it all begins with this one. This annual solar eclipse or ring of fire eclipse is only going to be seen at Antarctica, while partial phases will be seen in South America and regions of South Africa. But this isn't the crazy part. So it's going to start off with a ring of fire eclipse. Then on March the 3rd, we're going to have a blood moon eclipse. This is the last of 3 blood moon eclipses that have landed on Purim each year since 2024. And guess where this eclipse is going to be visible at? The ring of fire. You know, this ring of fire that's been lighting up with earthquakes recently. Not only is today the start of these eclipses, but today, February the 17th, also starts the year of the fire horse. This eclipse also lands on the Lantern Festival, which is a Chinese festival where they light up lanterns and let them go. We also know that lanterns are lamps. For us Christians, we know the significance in that. The Lord told us that there would be signs in the skies. And I don't find it a coincidence that 3 blood moons, which are assigned to Israel, has been happening for the past 3 years on the same festival, because Purim is a Jewish holiday that commemorates the saving of the Jewish people from annihilation at the hands of an official named Haman, which we read about in the book of Esther. And we know that Haman is a type for the Antichrist. I believe it is a coincidence that this is the year of the horse, as in the 4 horsemen that come during tribulation. If Jesus is not your Lord and Savior, please make him that today, because he could come for his church at any moment, and you do not want to be left here. Bible says that if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe that he died, was buried, and rose again for the remission of your sins, you will be saved. Don't wait until it's too late. The signs are here. Listen up.
Okay, one more.
Epic fury. It is being reported that Iran is closing the Strait of Hormuz. So get ready for those gas prices to go up. Iran says death toll in strike on elementary school rises to 57, with 60 others injured. Israel hacked popular Iranian prayer app to urge defections and resistance this morning. President Trump now has the largest deployment of U.S. air and naval assets in the Middle East in 23 years. Saudi Arabia has had a direct hit, and they have announced that they are prepared to join the U.S. in this war. It was also reported 2 hours ago that Iran's supreme leader Khamenei was cut off from contact. I just seen some breaking news that he might actually be unalived. Also, End Times Headlines has just said that the FBI tells Fox counterterrorism and counterintelligence teams are on an elevated alert nationwide. We are living in very prophetic times right now. We know that it's prophetic that Elam's bow is going to be destroyed, which more than likely is their nuclear power. Just like the Bible says, when they say peace and safety, that's when sudden destruction comes. Israel just joined the Board of Peace, and now look, they're at war. Listen up.
Okay, those were good ones today from her. One more short one, and I'm going to do Aaron. Another new lady on TikTok.
A while. I guess the weird thing is that every time I'm out of town, we seem to bomb Iran. So over the summer when I was on vacation in Europe, that happened. Over Christmas time, also on vacation, that happened. And right now I'm out of town with my daughter at a competition. And this has happened in Iran. I wanted to talk a little bit about it. This isn't surprising. Obviously, I've talked a lot about the military buildup going on in and around the Middle East. The retaliatory strikes don't surprise me all that much. This is a U.S. and Israeli strike, so they're going after Israel. They're going after U.S. military targets in Bahrain. They're going after targets in Abu Dhabi. As of now, flights on Lufthansa, Virgin, Atlantic, ITA, some other European carriers, and I will suspect U.S. carriers will join, have suspended flights to the region and to Dubai. That's normal. I expect that would happen. They need to keep people safe with a lot of the instability that is going on. As far as I know, there's strikes in Tabriz, Isfahan, Tehran, and yes, they did bomb the Ayatollah Khamenei's compound. I don't think he was there. He obviously knows that we were increasing military presence in and around Iran. So I'm certain he probably wasn't there. If he was, I mean, okay, but I highly doubt that he was there. And I do want to say something that might sound pretty harsh. None of this matters at all if the Ayatollah remains in power. None of it, because obviously he is the largest issue in this era. There's no question. And so if we do this and he remains in power, then it truly was for nothing. And there's been a former CIA officer that I've talked about a lot on here that has said Israel is, hated by the CIA. That is completely incorrect. Iran is who is disliked the most by the CIA. It is an intelligence vacuum. They harbor so many of the terrorists and create so much of the terrorism and instability in the world. That is the country that 99% of the time we were the most frustrated with when I worked there. I've had questions about sleeper cells being activated here in the US. I hate the term sleeper cells and activation. That's so spy-y. Will Iran retaliate? Yes, I feel like some of that retaliation might be cyber in nature. If you have seen increases in that, it's probably Iran or their allies. So I do think we will see things like that. I wouldn't be surprised under any circumstances. Should you travel to the Middle East right now? No. But obviously the US will help Americans that are there get out, and hopefully they will stay safe. But now is not the time to be traveling to the Middle East. Iran will retaliate. I think it will be cyber in nature.
Okay, another good one there. She's new also. I got a new one I just found, you guys. Let's check this one out before we get that 20-minute one. We got 5 minutes on this one. I just saw it here.
Super angry about what's being exposed, as we were back in 2017 when we found out what was happening. And so that's why I believe the military had to deal with this. And that's what I've been hearing since I've
a
been
lot of views on this
going
one.
through this since 2017 as well. And so, but everyone needs to understand that all this stuff has already happened. This is just a movie playing out for those who were asleep and ignored the messages that we were trying to tell people back in 2017 of what was happening. And the reason that you're all seeing this now, it is for the ones who were asleep, to let them know what was taking place and how we were deceived. Because how do you wake up people? You show them what's been happening. Yep. You have them experience it. You have them feel it. And all of these people, if not the majority of them, have been dealt with. They're already gone. And we're going to see that soon. You're going to see
this was actually 6 days ago.
All of this come out.
I've never seen her before.
And it's going to be hard. But know that it's been taken care of, because violence is not the answer. And the military knew that if they didn't deal with this, that people were going to take matters into their own hands, and that would not be good. And Trump and the military knew that they had to do everything by law, by the Republic law. We are the Republic. We are no longer a corporation. And so everything had to be done by law, which it has been. And we need to start doing what these other people in these other countries have been doing. Stop supporting and feeding into the system. Stop supporting these large corporations, these restaurants. Taking your kids out of school, homeschooling them. And I know it's hard because we have bills to pay, we have rent to pay, but it's temporary. And so there are communities that have come together that are supporting one another in this. And so for any of you out there that hate Trump, you may want to think twice. Because Trump and the military are the ones that have exposed this. If you notice, none of the presidents before President Trump has ever exposed this, because it's been going on for thousands and thousands of years. And if it wasn't for them, we would not be here.
Pretty good.
And so now that you're aware, you have a choice of not supporting these systems and these corporations and these restaurants, and know that everything is under control. And remember that all of this has been put out there for the people that are asleep and that were asleep, to let them know this is what was happening. This is what was taking place under our noses. And we didn't even know it. And to think that this kind of evil existed, it's heart-wrenching to think that, but it did. And they had to wipe it clean. And it's taken all this time because it was infiltrated in all these countries, far and wide, east, north, south, west. So infiltrated, so deep, that it took a lot. And if you can only imagine what this military has gone through, what these people have seen, is horrific. So now, like I said, now that you're aware and you know this, it's time to focus on the good. And to know what's to come is going to be amazing, more than you could possibly ever imagine. Now that this evil has been taken care of, and that will no longer exist. That's why Trump, when he got into office, he put all those bills into play. So go back, if you don't know any of this, go back to when he first got into office. And again, all this stuff is going to come out. So wake up and know that everything is under control. Focus on the good. What's to come is so good. Yeshua loves you, and so do I, and I'll see you on the next video. Mwah.
You got to keep an eye on her radios, on another good one. Let's see what Erin's going to say with this interview she has.
All you've done.
Right. Your organization is phenomenal. You've got brilliant people and you deliver a message superbly. So that sets you up for a lot of pressure here, doesn't it? Let's jump straight in. The news we were all waiting for, not just military action, but the death of the supreme leader. What are your initial thoughts, feelings, reactions to this? They got him.
You know, Aaron, I've been working on the Iran issue for 22 years. I remember when Trump killed Qasem Soleimani, the head of the IRGC Quds force. I was in a state of disbelief, and then it transformed into elation. It's nothing compared to today. I mean, again, disbelief, and to know that the longest serving dictator in the world, who ruled with an iron fist for 37 years, is gone and can no longer terrorize the Iranian people and the region and the United States and the West is it's a blessing.
It's an unfamiliar feeling for people to feel joy at someone's death. And there are few exceptions in the world, but I'm already seeing some of the reaction from those who will just despise anything that America does, including Americans who seem to hate themselves. Anything that Israel is involved with, they hate passionately. There is not one thing that is good about this person that you could possibly mourn. He is an evil scumbag terrorist who is not only responsible for the deaths of thousands, if not millions of his own people, but American blood, Western blood on his hands. This was not a good bloke.
Yeah, Aaron. So, look, I mean, the hyper-partisanship in Washington is too bad. I mean, I was not a fan of Barack Obama. I didn't support Barack Obama's foreign policies. But when he killed Osama bin Laden, I stood up with everybody on both sides of the aisle and joyously applauded that, because bin Laden was also evil incarnate. So I think the partisanship and Trump derangement syndrome and Israel derangement syndrome is warping people's moral and intellectual compass. And it's really a shame.
Looking ahead, Trump said in the statement that he's only just put out that this will continue for weeks, if not longer, or as long as it takes. If we start to see IRGC join the people, and I know this was encouraged during the initial protests a couple of months ago and it didn't eventuate, but it looks like more and more of this is happening, and the loss of the supreme leader is certainly going to help, same as military leaders, those who are still living, police, security forces. If things were to change, military action would no longer be required. How would they determine when the right time is to stop? What needs to be achieved, or what assurances need to be made for the US and Israel to say, okay, our job here is done?
Well, it depends on who you ask. I mean, the president has sort of flirted with the idea of regime change, which is not sending 500,000 mechanized U.S. troops to invade Iran, but really providing maximum support to the Iranian people, coupling that with maximum pressure on the regime, using military pressure, economic pressure, covert action, cyber, using all the tools of American and Israeli power. And then what Trump is also hinting at, which I think is really important, and that is maximum fracturing of the support base of the regime, because the support base held during the January slaughter of Iranians, when the security services killed 32,000 Iranians in 2 days. It was probably the single biggest slaughter in modern history in a 2-day period since the Nazis killed 32,000 Jews at Babi Yar in Ukraine. So, I mean, absolute brutality. The security services held. Trump making it very clear, you got a choice. You can either stop your pursuit of nuclear weapons, stop building these long-range ballistic missiles, stop supporting terrorism, be a normal nation, or I'm going to eliminate you as well. And I think he said that very clearly, much more clearly than any U.S. president has. And if anybody in Iran is questioning the sincerity of the commander-in-chief, I think they're making a big mistake.
You talk about regime change, and I think that's very obvious to anyone with half a brain what is the desirable outcome from the US and Israel, but they're still trying to distance themselves from that, aren't they? And they're still trying to say, Netanyahu mentioned it specifically to the people, your future is in your hands now. And Trump has repeatedly said, we're going to kind of hand it to you, not on a platter, but take back your government. It will be there for the taking, essentially. You can tell that they're still nervous about being responsible for that or choosing who goes in there, which is why they haven't been vocal about endorsing Reza Pahlavi.
Yeah, I think that the United States and Israel have kind of split the operations and sort of split the mission. I think President Trump has made it clear over and over again that he's most concerned about Iran's reconstituting nuclear weapons program. He's very concerned that the Iranians are rebuilding their missile program, including an intercontinental ballistic program, which, when it's ready, can target the American homeland. And I think those are the two most dangerous capabilities that Trump wants to degrade and eliminate. The Israelis, on the other hand, very concerned about nuclear and missiles, and you can see their operational tempo over the past number of hours, but they're the ones going after the leadership. I mean, they're the ones who killed Khamenei. They're the ones who've taken out 40, 50 of the top security officials on the military side, IRGC, Basij, intelligence. So the Israelis are the ones committed, I think, to bringing down the regime. And President Trump is happy to let the Israelis do it, let the Israelis use their incredible intelligence dominance to achieve that. But President Trump, I think, is laser focused on getting rid of this reconstituting nuclear and missile program.
And that rhetoric was reflected in comments that JD Vance made again and again prior as well, which was essentially our concern is only nuclear rather than the deaths of all those people and that kind of thing. And I understand that from I get that it's not America's job to save everyone, but this regime doesn't just kill its own people and doesn't just desire to, as we know, death to America, not in the dark corners, but in Parliament, in their version of Parliament. It's insane. I'd like to ask you about the broader Middle East. I found it surprising early on the targets that the Iranian regime were retaliating against. We knew Israel would be fast and hard, but this is really going to be fascinating to see how a lot of these regions in the Middle East react to this. It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Iranians, they've made a mistake because the Gulf countries, at least publicly, were very cautious. They were advocating for President Trump to do a deal and not use military force, though privately, some of them, like the Saudis and Emiratis and others, were a little more focused privately on trying to convince the president that if he doesn't strike, Iran would emerge stronger and more dangerous. But the regime struck them. They went after the Emiratis, they went after the Bahrainis, Jordanians, the Qataris. I think this really focused minds in the Gulf. And you've seen that wave of condemnation of the Islamic Republic coming from countries, even like Qatar, which
that
is
are normally quite sympathetic towards them. Yeah, have a lot in common with them.
They do. It's an Islamist regime, Muslim Brotherhood led, shares a natural gas field, quite sympathetic to the Islamic Republic. But the Gulf countries united in their condemnation of Iranian strikes. And I think it's a good thing. I think the president is enjoying a lot of support from Australia, from your prime minister, who's normally not very good on these issues, from the Canadian prime minister, Mark Carney.
Keir Starmer was weak as beep, as you can, that was unsurprising at any level. But how embarrassing to get up and say it as though this was a badge of honor. We have played no part in potentially one of the most monumental occasions in our lifetime. This could be the greatest, biggest thing that happens geopolitically. And old mates standing up there saying, we played no part. You're welcome. What?
Our bookstore is like a portal.
It's neo-Victorian, it's steampunk.
And we wanted our Wix website to be too. I'm Jenna.
Yeah, I think, look, for many years, we've enjoyed this special relationship with our British friends. We fought in wars together in World War I, World War II. And we've had a very, very strong partnership with them. But this is no longer our fathers and grandfathers' United Kingdom. And under Starmer, it's gotten even worse. I think what the president is demonstrating is that Israel is a model ally. And in fact, in the National Defense Strategy that the Department of War put out just a couple months ago, they actually use that language, that Israel is a model ally that's willing to fight and die in its own defense, has extraordinary military and intelligence and technology capabilities. And, you hear privately from administration officials on all sides of the ideological divide that they would just wish there were more Israels in the world. And I think there is one.
Yeah.
I think it's Ukraine, which has been also fighting and dying in its own defense against
Yeah.
Vladimir Putin. I think Trump and the Republican Party to some extent have made a real mistake in creating a partisan divide there. But Israel is a model ally. It's acknowledged as such. I don't think the UK, unfortunately, today is a model ally.
I'd agree with you on Ukraine. As someone who is banned in Russia for my commentary surrounding Ukraine, I agree entirely. I think, I'm not in agreement with the administration on the way in which it's tackled that issue. And again, Rubio's speech was brilliant, but to have no mention of Ukraine, I thought was, that was disappointing from my perspective, the speech that he made
I think,
recently.
Aaron, you call balls and strikes, to use a baseball analogy. I don't know what the Australian analogy is, but you're honest.
We call a spade a spade.
Call a spade, exactly. And I think you've shown great intellectual integrity to call a spade. And it's very difficult in Washington. It's very difficult in this very divisive environment to support the president when he does things that are right and, criticize him when he does things that aren't. But there's very few people willing to abandon their ideological affiliations in order to provide moral and intellectual clarity.
No, I agree. And I think, you can also say, I think it was wonderful that he's forced the Europeans to lift their game. I mean, they needed to lift up to 5% of GDP with defense. They needed to do more to help Ukraine. It shouldn't have just been a burden on America. And I know they've done a lot, but those things can be true as well as I think the US could do a hell of a lot more. And I think it would benefit the US and the rest of the world as well. Looking forward, Mark, in terms of what happens in Iran, and there are so many assumptions. This could all go belly up in the next 2 hours. We don't know what will occur or how it will play out. But thus far, given the names and the figures that have been killed, it would be hard to see this regime surviving. That doesn't mean it won't. But what happens next? How does a country of 90 million, we know that Reza Pahlavi seems to be very popular in a lot of quarters and the only one name that you see repeatedly mentioned over and over. But how does that then, this transfer of power occur? And he's saying, I'm just transition, I'm not permanent. How does it work?
Look, I think the regime is definitely on its knees. I think over the coming days and weeks, we'll see if the United States and Israel can put it on its back. As I said, been working over 2 decades on this issue, so I remain cautious because this is a wounded animal, and the most dangerous animal in the animal kingdom is a wounded one. So the regime still has the guns and the people don't. And so I am not getting too Pollyannish about the coming weeks, but I think there is an opportunity. I think Reza Pahlavi has done serious work with his organization and with some of my Iran experts on day after planning. They put together something called the Iran Prosperity Project, where they pulled in lots of top experts to look at economy and internal security and international relations and the judicial piece of this. So serious work's been done. I hope the U.S. government starts to do more serious work internally on this, because I think we don't want to be caught with their pants down and all of a sudden there's a political vacuum that's being filled by bad actors. But
because that's the point, actually. I had, sorry to interrupt you, Mark, but I had Colonel Richard Kemp on a couple of days ago, and he was talking, and as he was talking, I thought, we're thinking that the Islamic regime in place, they are the evil ones. The 90 million people are the good, innocent ones who are desperate for freedom. But there are other evil parties who are not in power who would kill for the opportunity, who would be circling, wouldn't there?
Well, absolutely. Internally within Iran, certainly the Chinese, the Russians.
Well, yeah.
And, you got to always be careful of Al-Qaeda and ISIS and the Sunni jihadist groups who move to take advantage. This is what happened in Iraq. And, you saw the collapse of the Saddam regime. You saw a program of de-Baathification where we thought we had learned the right lesson from denazification after World War II. But there were tens of thousands of Iraqis who were Baathists, but they were Baathists because they had no choice. If you want to be a teacher in Saddam's Iraq, you have to be a Baathist. So we de-Baathified, we dismissed them all. And, many of the men and some of the women joined that vicious insurgency. So I think we've got to learn from Iraq. But I think as J.D. Vance said, you don't want to underlearn, but you don't want to overlearn. You don't want to think
Yeah.
everything is Iraq. And I think there's serious work to be done. But I'm of the view, and I think President Trump probably is as well, that the support base of the regime is probably 20% true believers and 80% crooks and charlatans, as our friend Kareem Sajapur has put it.
Mhm.
And that's a flip from 79, where 80% were true believers and 20% were charlatans.
Yeah.
You know, if you can flip the non-true believers and the charlatans and they can keep their money and their lives, then you get to a situation that President Trump's talking about, which is to really fracture the support base and remove the guns from those who have been so brutal in slaughtering Iranians.
You mentioned China. I want to talk finally about the impact on, and great point you make, by the way, about the defense strategy. I read that in full as well, and that was one of my takeouts. The other place that was mentioned and identified quite rightly as the greatest threat to American national security and America as a whole is the Chinese Communist Party and Xi Jinping. You weaken one of these allies, you weaken them all. Is that a fair assessment to make, given what China gets out of Iran? You look at Russia as well, North Korea. What does this do to the bad guys around the world if this regime were not to exist anymore?
So at FDD, we call it the axis of aggressors, and it's China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. My colleague Brad Bowman is about to put out a book, very detailed study on this axis.
Great.
And there are 500-600 lines of partnership and cooperation between members of the axis. So first is identifying that it exists. Second is really understanding how they work together from a military, political, security, intelligence, economic point of view. And then really, Brad's book is going to be chock full of actionable recommendations on how you can actually weaken the axis. But I think the best way to weaken the axis is actually remove the Islamic Republic of Iran from it. It's an essential element of the axis. It's essential to Chinese Communist Party force projection and economic projection in the Middle East and in the broader Near East. And that would be a serious blow to the Chinese communists if we were to remove the Islamic Republic. And I think the Islamic Republic is the weakest element of the axis, right? China, multi-generational, nuclear armed superpower with a massive army. Russia, nuclear weapons, huge energy resources. Putin's willing to throw hundreds of thousands of Russians into the meat grinder. And North Korea already has nuclear weapons and ICBMs that could probably destroy Seoul in a matter of a few hours. So if you really want to weaken that axis, you want to break the weakest member. And so far that is the Islamic Republic. And let's see how things ensue. But I think so far, cautiously, very cautiously, so far so good.
You look at China, you mentioned the wounded bull prior and the danger of that. Plenty think that Xi Jinping is in as weak a position as he has been in internally. There are domestic issues with the economy. I don't know if you caught his New Year's speech. I think I watched 3 different translations of it. All were slightly different, so I'm relying upon translations. But he seems primed to go when it comes to not just Taiwan. There were 3 or 4 mentions of that, but broader in terms of his global ambitions. If the regime in Iran falls, does that then potentially, rather than doing the opposite and him going, oh gosh, the Americans might get involved and it's, et cetera, or does it make him think, well, I got to go now? Is that a danger as well?
Yeah, it's always a danger. Xi Jinping has been preparing the People's Liberation Army for a 2025 invasion of Taiwan. He's facing, as you say, enormous challenges, economic challenges, but internal challenges. He's been firing his generals left, right, and center.
Yeah, childhood friends as well who were, right. Something's going on.
Something's going on. And I think what's going on is that many of these men don't believe that the PLA is ready for a Taiwan invasion. But I think there's no substitute for the credibility of American power. And it's on display right now inside the Islamic Republic of Iran. And if you are Xi Jinping or Vladimir Putin or, Kim or any of these dictators, you've seen that Trump's got a pretty good track record of enforcing red lines. And I think it was so critical that he did after promising that help was on its way for the Iranian people. Well, he delivered. 6 weeks later, help is now on its way, and we're seeing the results in real time.
It's a beautiful way to finish. Help is on its way. help is there now, and let's pray for all the innocent people in Iran, for the US troops, the Israeli troops, and everyone around the world, because this will be an incredible thing if it pans out the way we hope it does. Mark Dubowitz, thank you so very much for coming on the Aaron Mullins Show and for the brilliant job that you all do at the FDD. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Aaron. It's a great honor.
You are amazing.
Okay, that was a good interview, I thought. All right. JJ sent me a short clip.
Strikes on Iran, and a lot of people will be like, oh God, another warmongering president. He's just going to go in and smash up these poor people. It's not the same. This is not George W. Bush. This is not George Bush. This is a different situation. And for many years now, I've been saying that we dodged the biggest bullet in history when we didn't go to nuclear war from and with Iran in 2017, because that was the plan. That was part of the 16-year plan with Obama and Hillary Clinton. And if you read the Q post about Iran, it talks about the people rising. And really, this is not the first attack on Iran. You know, they took out their nuclear capabilities not long ago. What we need to understand is that Iran, like North Korea, like Venezuela, are deep state outposts, puppet regimes. And it's very, for the normies, saying, look, for 47 years, Iranians have been crying death to America, calling it the Great Satan and all of that. And, we've been propagandized our entire lives. I remember when the Shah got removed, I think it was 1979, wasn't it? And Iran was is an amazing, full of amazing people, is an amazing country. I've never been there, but I've met Iranians who are just lovely and love their food, I love their food. Baklava in particular. That's from that region. Probably somebody's going to shout at me now, so you got it wrong. It's from Westport. So if you're watching that news, going, "Oh my God, we're going to war," be calm, because firstly, there's nothing you can do about it if we were. Secondly, there's a bigger picture at play here, as always, with everything that's going on. And we did dodge the biggest bullet in history when she didn't get elected in 2016. So, yeah, stay frosty.
Hey, that was a good one. Thanks, Pride Nut. Hey, Jerry. Okay. We got to play this one here.
Investigation on October 7th, 2024, after receiving complaints from several counties alleging that the organization America PAC, a political campaign, sent partially pre-filled absentee ballot applications to register voters in Chattooga, Cherokee, Coweta, Floyd, and Whitfield counties after the passage of a law that had made such activity unlawful.
People across the country are already voting for candidates that they hope will one day represent them in their local and state governments. But new reporting finds that a super PAC run by Elon Musk engaged in illegal activity while trying to get Donald Trump elected back in 2024.
Mr. Chair, I think that there is evidence to suggest that America PAC is in violation of 21-2-381 when they sent to an elector pre-filled absentee ballot applications in November of 2024, and evidence to suggest that America PAC is in violation of 21-2-381 when they failed to display in a conspicuous location the statutory language. This is not an official government publication and was not provided to you by any government entity, and this is not a ballot. Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion that we issue a letter of reprimand to America PAC.
So we're still dealing with election fraud allegations from previous elections as we head into another midterm. As you all know, Trump lost the 2020 election to Joe Biden, which resulted not just in the January 6th insurrection at our nation's capital, but also in years of Trump insisting that the election was stolen from him, that the votes were tampered with, that the voting machines were.
Sorry about that one, you guys. I didn't like that one. Okay. Let's try to get this one in. See what this one's about. Important one, I think.
Catastrophic for businesses and consumers.
200 billion gallons of water are vanishing every single day, and nobody could explain where it was going until now.
The river expected to keep dropping in the next few weeks. Right now, barges are getting stuck in mud and sand.
The Mississippi River has hit levels so low that barges are sitting in mud, but the math does not add up. The rainfall is normal, yet the water is gone. When engineers investigated, they found that the riverbed itself has changed. It is no longer holding water, it is swallowing it. This detail changes the entire story from a weather problem to a geological disaster. What lies beneath the mud is shocking scientists and scaring the government. The impossible drain. The Mississippi River, this is also incredible, has hit historic low levels due to the current drought the country is facing. The unusually low water levels of the river have caused barges to get stuck in mud and sand. It has also triggered waterway restrictions from the Coast Guard. 200 billion gallons of water are disappearing every single day, and nobody can explain where it is going. On October 17, 2024, NASA's Terra satellite captured images that sent shockwaves through the scientific community. The mighty Mississippi, America's second largest river, is not mighty anymore. Drought conditions are bringing this vital transportation waterway to a halt. Over 120 vessels and more than 1,800 barges are backed up. The Mississippi River near Memphis showed water depths of less than 3 feet. These levels have not been recorded since monitoring began in 1872. What should take centuries of natural change occurred in just 18 months. But here is where this story takes a terrifying turn. This is not happening because of drought. Rainfall in the upper Mississippi Basin measured 34.2 inches for 2023. That is exactly average for the past 50 years. The water is there. It is just vanishing. The Mississippi is the main route for America's breadbasket to the world, responsible for $400 billion in industry and 1.3 million jobs. Right now, barges carrying 60% of America's grain exports sit stranded on exposed sandbars. The river that moves $700 billion in goods annually has transformed into something unrecognizable. Shipping companies have stopped running. The Army Corps of Engineers has discovered why this is happening. But their findings violate the basic laws of physics. And what they have found is so disturbing that government agencies have started classifying their own data. This is the story of how America's most vital waterway is bleeding to death and the shocking truth about what is really draining it dry. Things get even crazier when you look at the specific data coming out of Tennessee, where the water level of the Mississippi River is at an all-time low, but the reason why goes against everything we know about how water moves. Dr. Amanda Winters had spent her entire career studying rivers, but nothing prepared her for what she discovered in September 2023. Her team at the USGS Water Science Center conducts monthly discharge measurements using acoustic Doppler current profilers. These are basically underwater sonar systems that map water speed across the entire river cross-section. The technology is precise. The math is simple. Water in equals water out minus evaporation and human use. Sections of the Mississippi River are plunging to a level not seen in more than 30 years. Along with threatening drinking water, experts say the never-seen-before drop could also impact the U.S. supply chain and the economy.
This is a pretty good one to play here.
Revolutionize the way you track your glucose.
Important one.
With Stello. My name is Sherlock Holmes. I've always been more of a thinker than a fighter. I'm curious.
But the numbers made no sense. Water entering the lower Mississippi at Memphis measured 312,000 cubic feet per second. Standard calculations meant they should see approximately 340,000 cubic feet per second at Baton Rouge 7 days later. Instead, they measured 287,000 cubic feet per second. 53,000 cubic feet per second had simply vanished across 600 river miles. That is 34 million gallons per minute. The entire flow of the Colorado River gone without a trace. Dr. Winters assumed it was a machine error. She fixed the sensors, ran double measurements, and sent samples to independent labs to verify readings. Every single test confirmed the same impossible reality. The climate crisis is also top of mind for many voters. The Mississippi River is at historically low levels, which could impact the food supply and our wallets. By December 2023, the loss rate had increased to 89,000 cubic feet per second. By March 2024, it reached 143,000 cubic feet per second. The Mississippi River was draining volume at a speeding up rate that no small stream reduction, no upstream movement, no increase in farm use could explain. Engineers monitoring the lower Mississippi Division recorded something that should not be possible. Water entering the system at Cairo, Illinois simply was not arriving at Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Not delayed, not moved, gone. Enough water to fill Lake Tahoe every 11 days was vanishing into thin air. According to the law of conservation of mass, water cannot just disappear. It has to go somewhere. But where? The answer would shake the foundations of everything we thought we knew about water science. This mystery kept deepening as the riverbeds turned into riverbanks, and people started realizing that the water line, which should be 15 to 20 feet higher, was exposing secrets that had been hidden for a century. The classified report. In April 2024, the Army Corps of Engineers convened an emergency technical review board. 37 senior hydraulic engineers, geologists, and climatologists reviewed 18 months of data from every monitoring station between St. Louis and New Orleans. Their preliminary report, marked internal review, only contained a single devastating conclusion. Observed losses exceed all documented natural changes and known human withdrawals by a factor of 6.7. No existing water framework explains the recorded deficit. Translation: we have no idea what is happening. That report was never released to the public. 3 weeks later, the Army Corps announced routine maintenance protocols at 11 monitoring stations and suspended publication of real-time discharge data, something that had not occurred since 1928. Sigh of relief this morning for the Army Corps of Engineers as the Mississippi River's rise is easing. The Corps says the Bonnet Carré spillway will stay closed for now. That is because the Mississippi is cresting lower than expected. Scientists who had spent careers studying the Mississippi began speaking in careful, measured phrases. Not the confident declarations of established science, but the tentative words of researchers confronting data that refuses to make sense. If these numbers are real, Dr. Winters told a closed-door symposium at Tulane University, every textbook on North American water science needs revision. Teams scrambled for explanations. They examined farm extraction. The Mississippi River Basin supports $60 billion in annual farm production, but total documented withdrawal for 2023 was 8.2 billion gallons per day. Substantial, yes, but less than half the missing water. They studied evaporation rates using satellite heat imaging. The data showed evaporation rates were only 2.3% higher than the 30-year average. An increase that small should remove an additional 4,000 cubic feet per second, not 143,000. Every theory they tested came up short until they looked underground. And that is putting it lightly, because when they finally checked the deep earth beneath the water, the results were more terrifying than simply running out of rain. Geologists deployed 127 seismometers in a grid pattern spanning both sides of the river from Memphis to Vicksburg. They generated sound profiles of the subsurface down to 2,000 feet. What they found changed everything. The seismic data showed dramatically increased empty space in the dirt directly beneath the river channel. This empty space, or porosity, measures how much air or water can fit between grains of sand. Typical river deposits beneath the Mississippi show 28 to 33% porosity. The 2024 survey recorded values of 41 to 47%. The sediments were becoming sponge-like. The riverbed itself was transforming into a giant drain. All of us, at least in the weather and climate departments here, started raising our eyebrows because this is something we have only seen, in records that go back to the 1890s. Really twice before. 1988 and 2012 are both memorable years for when the Mississippi was so low. Dr. Michael Reeves, a rock expert at Mississippi State, described the finding with barely concealed alarm. We are observing a structural reorganization of the bed material. It is as if the river is digging itself out from within. But empty space alone does not make water disappear. Something had to be pulling water out of the underground storage as fast as the river could feed it. The Memphis Sand Aquifer and the Mississippi River Valley Alluvial Aquifer together provide drinking water for 8 million people. Both aquifers have experienced declining water tables since the 1960s. Water tables in 2024 averaged 23 feet lower than 1990 levels. That declining slope creates suction. The river encountering dirt with increased holes and an aquifer with reduced pressure begins refilling the underground system at catastrophic rates. The Mississippi River was not drying up from lack of rainfall, it was bleeding into its own aquifer. And this revelation exposed a terrifying truth about what we had unknowingly created. Basically, we poked a hole in the bottom of the bathtub, and now all the water is rushing out to fill the empty space we created underneath. 10,000 small cuts. A century of engineering projects has led us to this point. The dams, the levees, the channel stabilization, farm development, every well drilled to support farms and cities. Together, they had collectively altered the basic relationship between surface water and groundwater. We did not break the river through one bad decision. We rewrote its science through 10,000 small ones. The Army Corps tried emergency interventions. Increased upstream dam releases produced temporary improvements near Memphis, but the water did not reach New Orleans. The enhanced flow simply accelerated the refill through the high-hole riverbed dirt. Even if you do not work or live on the river, you are touched by it. And it is the center point of our economy, responsible for a $10 billion impact on our city every year. And when it is dried up, there is only one way to fight it. By February 2025, discharge at Tarbert Landing had declined to 214,000 cubic feet per second, the lowest measurement since records began. Engineers call what is happening storage deadlock. Water exists in the system but occupies space where it cannot be used by either human structures or natural discharge mechanisms.
Local tax experts are here. Now you can meet with a TurboTax expert in your community. They can do your taxes for you and get you every dollar you deserve. Local tax experts are here. Hand off your taxes with confidence.
Old Spice gentlemen. Guess I've always been a gentleman.
It is trapped, locked away in underground deposits that may not release it for centuries. Louisiana coastal communities faced an additional nightmare. Reduced Mississippi flow meant less fresh water pushing against saltwater moving in. The Gulf of Mexico was advancing inland. In January 2025, city water intakes for Bellechasse and Braithwaite recorded saltwater contamination. Over 80,000 residents lost access to drinkable water overnight. It will take a significant amount of rain to bring those water tables, those aquifers, and those systems back up to where we have typical river conditions. The price we cannot pay is becoming clear as we realize that we are not just losing a river, we are losing the battle against the ocean itself. Are we solving the problem or just buying time? That question began appearing in Army Corps internal communications, and no one had an answer. Today, the Mississippi River continues its silent retreat. Monitoring stations track the decline with precision, but precision does not produce solutions. 10 million people depend on Mississippi River water. $200 billion in annual economic activity relies on deep water for boats. 400 species require specific flow conditions for survival. The systems we built to harness the river have collectively rewritten the basic science of the continent's largest watershed. We are learning that rivers do not respond to engineering on human timescales. They respond to geology, to weather, to the built-up weight of every intervention across decades. Somewhere beneath the riverbed, in the darkened, empty spaces of sand deposited when glaciers last retreated, 200 billion gallons of water per day continue their silent drop, vanishing into an aquifer that may not release them for centuries. The Mississippi is not drying because we failed to recognize the danger. It is drying because we succeeded in building systems that made the danger inevitable. The scariest part of all of this is that the water isn't actually gone. It is just out of our reach, sitting in the dark beneath our feet while the world above turns to dust. Do you think we can reverse this damage before the river is gone for good? Let me know in the comments below, and if you found this video interesting.
So what do you guys think of our first video about the water? I know that was a learning history there. Never played one of those before. Okay. Another long day of intel, but there was some big news with the war going on early this morning. They got the Prime Minister. So tomorrow, sometime after 12 on the first show, Lucy, we'll be praying for your grandson tomorrow, let us know tomorrow. So thanks to mods. KK was listening, I think, tonight. Fine, you go. Yep, I guess we better put that pin. I don't know how to pin that. I don't know if Kay can pin a banner up or not, but we do that every show. Yep. Carol and Lucy and Tim. So everyone have a good Saturday night, Sunday. We'll see what tomorrow brings. And bless everybody, love all. Please hit like. Subscribe to the backup channel, please, in the description box. Thank you. And stay safe, stay strong, keep the faith. Never give up. And signing off for another long day of intel. Chico and Dude. We'll see you all tomorrow afternoon. Hopefully we'll see how tomorrow goes. I don't know if I'll do 2 shows tomorrow or not. Maybe 1. But I always change my mind. Play it by ear, like what Jordan always says. We haven't seen Jordan in this weekend. All right, you guys. Have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow.